Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a topic that rarely gets discussed with honesty: the reality of female nature beyond societal illusions. Regarding conversations about women, we often see two extremes. One side blindly praises and idealizes them, while the other expresses resentment and frustration. But neither of these perspectives captures the complex and nuanced reality of male-female dynamics. Instead, we are taught to see women through a lens shaped by tradition, culture, and romantic ideals, an image that often does not align with the truth. This video will break down the harsh truths about women that many men overlook. This is not about blame, resentment, or stereotypes. It's about understanding the deeper forces that shape attraction, relationships, and power dynamics between men and women. By recognizing these truths, you can navigate relationships with greater clarity and avoid the pitfalls of unrealistic expectation. So, stay with me until the end, because once you see these dynamics for what they indeed are, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Let's get started. 1. The reality behind the idealized image of women. Men have long fallen into two opposing traps, either dismissing women entirely or placing them on an unrealistic pedestal. Yet neither extreme captures the truth. Women are neither flawless beings of pure emotion and devotion, nor cold and calculating manipulators. Instead, they exist beyond the roles that tradition and societal expectations have ascribed to them, shaped by instinct, survival, and power dynamics. Many men grow up believing in an idealized version of romance, only to face disappointment when reality doesn't align with their expectations. This disillusionment often comes from misunderstanding the true nature of attraction. Women, like men, respond to deeper forces: status, security, excitement, and self-interest. They navigate relationships through love and an unspoken understanding of social dynamics. The way modern relationships unfold reveals this truth. A man's success in dating is rarely determined by pure kindness or unwavering devotion, but by his ability to command respect, maintain boundaries, and project strength. The traditional belief that love alone is the foundation of attraction fails to account for the underlying forces at play. Chemistry, challenge, and an unshakable sense of self carry more weight than blind affection. This realization is not about blame, but about clarity. To engage with women effectively, a man must first see past illusions, both harmful and overly romanticized, and understand what truly influences attraction and connection. Those who grasp this reality do not fall into resentment or idealization, but move forward with confidence, insight, and an unclouded perspective. 2. The romantic illusion men create about women. Men do not fall in love with women as they are, they fall in love with their created image, an idealized version that exists only in their minds. This illusion is not based on reality, but on a deep-seated need for inspiration, emotional security, and validation. It allows them to feel in control, to believe they have found something pure and untouchable, something that belongs solely to them. They want to see women as inherently nurturing, delicate, and morally elevated, not because this is the truth, but because it aligns with their longing for stability. This fantasy is potent because it simplifies love. It makes relationships appear predictable, as though devotion and purity are guaranteed. A man convinced of this illusion believes that a woman will remain constant, never change, never waver, and never desire anything beyond him. She becomes a muse, an emotional refuge, an unwavering force of comfort. But this is not admiration. It is a refusal to accept the complexity of female nature. Women are not merely passive figures waiting to be loved. They are instinctive, strategic, and driven by their internal compass, just as men are. Their emotions, desires, and decisions are not shaped solely by devotion, but by self-interest, experience, and an understanding of power in relationships. Men hold on to their illusions because the alternative terrifies them. If a woman has full emotional and sexual autonomy, it forces a man to confront his insecurities. He wants to believe his love is enough to keep her loyal, that she is different from other women, and that she will never outgrow him or seek fulfillment beyond him. But the moment reality contradicts this fantasy, the moment she asserts her independence, a man often feels betrayed, not because she has changed, but because the image he created was never actual. The shock of seeing a woman's true nature, her ambitions, ability to walk away, and willingness to put herself first, shatters the illusion. The painful realization remains that love was never about possession or purity. It was always about power, choice, and the ability to see someone for who they indeed are, rather than who we wish them to be. 3. The subtle, indirect power women wield. Power does not always come from confrontation. While men often assert dominance through physical strength, status, or overt displays of authority, women wield a different kind of power, one that operates beneath the surface yet is just as effective, if not more so. It is a power rooted in subtlety, psychology, and an acute awareness of human nature. Throughout history, women were often denied the ability to rule through traditional means. They could not always take command openly, yet they found ways to influence decisions, shape alliances, and secure their place in a world governed by brute force. Instead of demanding obedience, they inspired devotion. Instead of using threats, they mastered the art of persuasion. A glance, a well-placed word, or a shift in tone could alter the course of a conversation, redirect energy, and reframe perspectives without the other party even realizing it. This quiet strength is not a weakness, it is an evolutionary adaptation. In a world where force belonged to men, women developed strategies of control that required patience, emotional intelligence, and the ability to understand unspoken desires. They did not have to conquer with swords or fists when they could achieve the same results with influence and insight. This is why men often find themselves drawn to women who carry an air of mystery and seem to understand them on a deeper level. It is not magic, but skill, one honed over generations. The most significant power is the ability to guide without resistance, to lead without force. Women have long understood this. Those who master it shape the world in ways most will never fully comprehend. 4. Women as masters of perception and illusion. Human beings are often more drawn to appearances than the truth, and women have perfected this instinct. Throughout history, the ability to control perception has been a vital survival skill women have used to navigate complex social environments. Beauty, grace, and social intelligence are not simply passive traits. They are active tools women use to shape interactions and gain advantages. Women understand, perhaps better than anyone, that people rarely fall in love with reality. They fall in love with how they perceive reality. This perception becomes the lens through which relationships, opportunities, and self-worth are evaluated. Women have honed their ability to manipulate their appearance, carefully crafting their image to suit the context, whether in personal relationships or the broader social landscape. This mastery of perception often goes unnoticed. When a woman presents herself in a particular way, it's easy for some to dismiss it as vanity or superficiality, but in reality it's far from that. It's a sophisticated and powerful tool for influence, controlling the narrative without confrontation. The ability to shape how others perceive her allows a woman to maneuver through life, securing advantages without raising her voice in protest. This skill is practical because it doesn't rely on brute force or overt persuasion. Instead, it operates on a level of subtlety that few genuinely recognize. Women don't need to assert their power directly. Their influence is often exercised through the quiet command of how they are viewed, a delicate dance between self-presentation and strategic vulnerability. In this sense, perception becomes not just a means of communication, but a powerful form of control. When a woman understands the art of how she is seen, she can shape her world in ways that feel natural and effortless, ensuring that those around her engage with the version of herself she wishes to project. It's an invisible force, one that many underestimate, but one that can drive outcomes in ways that few ever comprehend. 5. Love as a power struggle, not a harmonious union. Love is often seen as a harmonious partnership, a beautiful union where people share equal footing. But beneath the surface, love can also be a battlefield, where the opposing instincts of men and women create tension that fuels and complicates attraction. At its core, the motivations behind love are fundamentally different for men and women. Men approach love with idealism, driven by a desire for beauty, emotional security, and a sense of salvation. The idea of a woman being the keeper of his emotional well-being and the source of his happiness is rooted in this idealized version of love. It's not just about companionship. It's about finding someone who embodies his deepest desires and dreams. Women, on the other hand, approach love from a more instinctual standpoint. Their passion is often driven by a need for protection, a desire for advantage, and a deep-seated urge to ensure survival in a world that sometimes offers them fewer options. They are not constantly searching for salvation, but for a partner who can provide the stability and security they need to navigate the complexities of life. This creates an unspoken negotiation, a delicate balance of give and take that is less about romance and more about strategy. Society often romanticizes this dynamic, veiling the power struggle in layers of sentimentality. We are taught that love should be unconditional and about mutual respect and equality. But it's often about power, subtle, quiet, and sometimes manipulative. Both men and women are, in a sense, trying to shape and control each other to meet their own emotional needs. For men, it's about feeling validated and admired, while for women, it's about securing their place in a world that can feel precarious. In the dance of love, both partners try to influence the other, but one side rarely gets what they expect without negotiating terms. Men may seek admiration and respect, while women may seek stability and support. The result is not always a peaceful union, but a power struggle where both are trying to win, sometimes without realizing the game they're playing. Understanding this dynamic doesn't have to diminish the beauty of love, it simply adds a layer of depth. Love, at its most raw, is not just about hearts and flowers, it's about a constant negotiation between people with fundamentally different needs and desires. Recognizing this can help both partners navigate the terrain more clearly, allowing them to appreciate each other's strengths while acknowledging the existing inherent tensions. 6. Morality as a tool for survival. Morality has never been a neutral force. Throughout history, it has been wielded as a tool, not only for personal conduct, but also as a survival mechanism. For women, morality has often been the shield that protected them in a world where brute strength and power were the province of men. In a society where their physical prowess was seen as inferior, women turned to moral virtues as their strength. Traits like patience, humility, and self-sacrifice became not just values but survival tactics. By adopting these virtues, women found a way to endure and exert influence in a world that sought to limit their power. Rather than succumbing to the physical force of men, women weaponized these moral ideals to maneuver within a system that often left them powerless. The moral high ground was their defense, a quiet form of resistance. It allowed them to navigate a rigid and usually oppressive structure, creating pathways to influence without openly confronting it. This approach was not about deceit or manipulation, but about crafting a space within the constraints of society. Women used morality as a subtle form of control, cloaked in what appeared to be a virtue, but was in many cases a strategic survival method. The qualities that society lauded in women, compassion, patience, and nurturing, weren't always born from pure sincerity. Often they were cultivated for a reason, to ensure safety, power, and agency in a world that might otherwise silence them. In modern relationships, the echoes of this strategic use of morality persist. A woman's sense of right and wrong, her ability to navigate moral complexities, can often be tied to her past experiences and the tools she developed to survive. Men who understand this dynamic are more likely to appreciate the subtleties in how women engage with power and control in their lives, recognizing that the lines between sincerity and strategy are not always as clear-cut as they seem. 7. The disruption caused by female independence. For centuries, society expected women to be passive and dependent, relying on men for validation, protection, and financial support. This traditional dynamic, however, was bound to change. As women gained independence through education, career advancement, and shifting cultural norms, they no longer needed to depend on men in the same ways. This newfound autonomy has liberated women and created significant disruption for the men unprepared for such a shift. The transformation of women into self-reliant, assertive individuals is not simply an evolution, it's a challenge to the old societal order. Men who once drew their self-worth from their ability to provide or dominate now find themselves in a world where those roles no longer hold the same weight. This abrupt change has often sparked resentment rather than respect. Men who relied on traditional gender expectations for their own identity may struggle with the notion that women are now their equals, not their subordinates. As women break free from the confines of dependency, they redefine themselves. They embrace qualities like directness and assertiveness, which can be unsettling for those who have grown comfortable with a patriarchal status quo. Women's confidence as they claim their own space often challenges men still tethered to outdated roles and expectations. Women no longer wait for permission or approval to make decisions. They take control of their lives and assert their desires without hesitation. This newfound independence is not just an internal shift. It often causes friction in relationships, particularly when men feel threatened by a woman's strength. While some men welcome the change and embrace equality, others struggle to adjust to a reality where they are no longer the unquestioned leaders. For many, the rise of women's independence forces them to confront their insecurities, often reacting with defensiveness or resentment instead of admiration. The growing sense of female autonomy is a necessary and positive shift, but it requires both men and women to navigate the complexities of changing dynamics. For relationships to thrive in this new world, men must shed the idea that their worth is tied to their ability to control or support. Instead, they must respect and embrace their partner's independence, recognizing that true strength comes not from dominance, but from partnership. 8. The possibility of a new type of relationship. In many relationships between men and women, a mutual illusion exists, each side projecting fantasies and desires onto the other. Men often view women through idealized notions of beauty, grace, and warmth, while women may expect men to be providers, protectors, and unshakable sources of strength. These projections create a bubble where both partners exist not as who they are, but as they wish the other to be. A sincere relationship demands the abandonment of these masks. It calls for men to stop idealizing and women to cease manipulating the emotional dynamics for control. Instead of seeking power through charm, dominance, or even passive aggressiveness, both parties would have to face each other without the comfort of these illusions. They would need to see the rawness of each other's flaws, vulnerabilities, and truths. This kind of relationship is rare, yet it is possible. It requires emotional strength and a willingness to let go of comforting lies that allow both men and women to continue pretending that things are perfect when they're not. It involves painful growth, the courage to confront hard truths about ourselves and each other. Without this, relationships will remain shallow, rooted in surface-level exchanges instead of meaningful connections. The future of male-female relationships won't be found in some straightforward notion of balance where both partners are equal in power. Instead, it will be forged through a redefinition of identity, a painful shedding of old roles and outdated expectations. As both sides recognize that true strength is in vulnerability and authenticity, the power struggles that have historically defined relationships will gradually fade. Only then can a new type of bond emerge, one built not on the need for control, but on mutual respect and shared strength. This transformation is not immediate or straightforward, but is the path toward creating more profound, honest connections. By discarding resentment and illusions, men and women can finally see each other as they indeed are, and, in doing so, find something far more meaningful than what the fantasy of perfection ever promised. The modern understanding of love and gender is built on comforting illusions rather than truth. Men and women have long engaged in a silent negotiation of power, where fantasy often replaces reality, and expectations overshadow proper understanding. But absolute clarity comes when we strip away these illusions. Not to resent or idolize the opposite sex, but to see each other as we indeed are. We can only move beyond outdated notions and build relationships based on mutual strength rather than deception, by acknowledging attraction, power, and instinct complexities. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced these dynamics in your relationships? What lessons have you learned about male-female interactions? Share your experiences in the comments below, and if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content on relationships, self-improvement, and the psychology of human nature. See you in the next one.